It was after Fajr, and I was actually going to go back to sleep for an hour, and then I heard a knock on the door, a loud knock, and it was just that feeling, you know, that's not the postman at that time in the morning, and just the way that knock sounded. Straight away, I looked at my wife, and they told me that they were here they had a warrant to search my home, and that's where they kind of separated me from my family, put me in handcuffs, and then said that I'll have to go to the police station and answer a few questions. And then I said goodbye to my wife and kids, and I didn't see them again until a month later. Obviously, I would consider myself a law-abiding person, but with the political climate, you just know there's so many strange things that happen, you know. So for me, I wasn't afraid, because in my mind, I thought to myself, well, what can they do? I mean, I've not done anything, you know. But you also feel that kind of, you know, your heartbeat that increases, and you know the rate increases, and you start thinking about your wife and your kids, and so all those kind of thoughts go flying through your mind, and so yeah, you do feel a bit anxious, you know, worried about your wife and children as well. So all those kind of thoughts were going through my mind, but at the same time, I was thinking, you know, what's going to happen? I can't see it being too bad. You could see the distress in her face. I could see it was very clear. There was distress in her face. The children looked confused because they had just woken up, and then they see 15 to 20 guys in their home. They don't know what's going on. And my children, to this day, don't see me as a bad person. So I remember seeing their faces. They were confused, like, why are they doing this? Where's Daddy being taken? You know, where's he going? Why? Why is this happening? So this kind of thing is very difficult to explain to children, because when you get arrested for a terrorism offence, or an offence that doesn't really, it's not your typical kind of crime, it's very difficult to explain to children, because it doesn't make sense, because what they see on TV or in their cartoons is theft, murder, burglary. This is what they associate with crime and police. And bad people. So when they see their dad's a good, loving father, who's looking after them, who plays with them, interacts with them, doesn't hurt anyone, doesn't swear, doesn't raise his voice, it's very confusing for them. They just don't understand. And one whole month went without any contact with my wife or children, and that's considering I would speak to them every day. You know, my wife, children, seeing them every single day, spending hours with them, and then just to have a 1 month cut off, it was very difficult. So it's very difficult for 1 month solid to be locked up 23.5 hours a day. Majority of people would do that with a stranger as well. You're forced to share a cell with a complete stranger. All these kind of thoughts are going through your mind. It's only the faith in Allah that gives you hope and strength and makes you realize that, okay, this is a test from Allah, I have to be patient, and the situation will change. But people who don't have that perception, then they start suffering from mental health issues even as early as a month. People start self-harming, and you know, you see grown men crying and breaking down, and it's only Iman in Allah that, because the Prophet, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said that the dunya is a prison for the believer. When am I going to see my wife? When am I going to see my children? When will I be free? Will I win my case? Will I be able to cope with this trial? How am I going to spend this time? How am I going to spend the next hour? How am I going to spend the next day? You're just in a room, a concrete room. It was a very, very long month. It was probably one of the longest months of my life. So it was a whole month before I saw her. And she even came without the children as well, because she couldn't bring them along at the time. But when I got moved to a different prison outside London, then it just became impossible for her to visit. But HHUGS were able to arrange a car, and they paid the expenses. and they organised a lift as well. And alhamdulillah, she was able to visit me through the help of HUGS. So, it was a great help. Just knowing that they've got that support, that enabled me to kind of deal with the situation, and mentally I was able to cope, knowing that they're getting support with the bills and the debt. Because again, the most difficult time is the moment you go into prison. That's the most difficult time, the first couple of months, while no one knows the situation, and the costs are going through the roof as well. If you had any cash at home, the police could have taken it, and they did as well. Probably, I think I had about £800, which the police took. They take all the statements, the bank cards. Sometimes they take the bank cards. So you're stuck. You're really stuck for a couple of months at least. And then obviously once you tell, because my daughter was young, 4 years old. So once you tell the Department for Work and Pensions as well that your circumstances changed, then you're gonna you don't get any benefits for 3 to 4 weeks as well. So that gets stopped. But you have to inform them because there's a change of circumstance. So you inform them, and then you're stuck for 3-4 weeks minimum with nothing, with no income. So, but HUGS were there, alhamdulillah. They came around, they found out, and it was very, very helpful. The most difficult time is actually not in prison, it's outside on license. They stopped me from seeing my children when I came outside. And it was unlawful decision, and there was no reason as well. There was absolutely no reason for it, because Children's Services had done an assessment and concluded that the children were not at risk of radicalisation. But yet, 4 months after that assessment, it was ad hoc. They just stopped me from seeing them. I got a letter, received a letter, saying that I'm not allowed to see my children, and if I try to contact them, I'll be sent back to prison. How do you explain it to a child, How do you explain, okay, prison, they could understand, you're in prison, but now, the day before I saw them, spent 4 hours with them, the next day suddenly, my daughter was asking my wife, well, why isn't Dad coming? Why hasn't he come today? And she said, he can't come. She goes, okay, let me speak to him. And then I wasn't even allowed to phone them. So she couldn't understand. She's a 4-year-old child, 5-year-old. She became 5 as well. So she couldn't understand why. Why can't I speak to Dad? Why can't you put him on the phone? It was very difficult because 4.5 months is a long time to have zero contact, not even a phone call. And I remember when I went to see my wife, I was allowed to see my wife, but not the children. I saw her once, I met her, I would meet her at cafes. And I remember seeing my son once, and I had to run away in case he sees me. And I didn't want to go back to prison. I don't want to kind of put any stress on him. I did again receive some help from HUGS while I was out on license. So that was relief, that was a great help. In these kind of circumstances, you know who your friends are, and sometimes you get abandoned by your close family, close relatives who will not want anything to do with you. They will not even visit you. The community sometimes don't want to know you, they want to wash their hands. Because if your own family don't want to know you, then, But, at that time, you put all your trust in Allah, you get closer to Him, and you realize that life is all about getting close to Him, really. And improving our relationship with Him, and you realize at that time that you should only have trust in Allah. A lot of brothers came to me in prison and asked me, I want to help you. Can I help? Can I give you some money? Send some money to your wife? And I said, if you want to help me, help HUGS. That's what I used to say to whoever asked me that question. HUGS are not helping people who are just, who are criminals. They're helping people who are innocent and just women and children. So it's very important to help them. What crime have they committed? They haven't. So those are the people that HUGS are helping, the women and children who are suffering at home alone, helping them just live, look after their children, looking after their emotional well-being, their safety, giving them something to do, helping them get through that difficult stage. Otherwise, I've known about HUGS for a long time, and I always make dua to Allah to keep it going, inshallah.